What's going on, guys? My fellow coffee friends. Today we're gonna talk about different roasts. We're gonna talk about how to taste differences between the different roasts. And we're gonna cup coffee with my friend Eric. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Let's get started. So today's topic is actually sourced from the comments. We'll be talking about Daniel and Matt's question about best roast, different flavors and different varieties and origins. You know, what are they like? What we're going to do today to sort of explore this topic is we're going to do a professional tasting called a cupping. A lot of coffee professionals use cuppings to calibrate roast profiles for their single origins, figuring out which coffee should go with which blends, comparing and scoring coffees, a variety of different ways to use what we learn on the cupping table. And so we're gonna go through this process. I'm gonna have a friend come and taste coffee with me because at the end of the day, it's an adventure and it should be shared. Before I begin, I want to mention just a couple things about my personal preference. I like to drink coffee black. And for that reason, I tend to like medium to light roasted coffees. They're like dark chocolates, you know, they have like a nice tangy sweetness. They've got great aromatics to it, and they have a great texture, a nice fudgy, chocolatey, velvety texture. If you like to drink your coffees black, I recommend starting at medium. Even if you like to drink it with milk and sugar, I'd recommend starting it with medium. Medium coffees tend to have enough body to withstand some dilution, whether that's with sugar or cream. If you find that your coffee tastes a little diluted when you add cream and sugar, go ahead and try a little bit of a darker roast. I tend to find that those stand up to dilution a little bit better. The first time I cupped coffee was probably 5 to 6 years ago. I had just started my coffee journey in working at a cafe, and I wanted to know more about what to taste for in coffee. After the experience, I realized that I didn't know anything of what I was tasting, but it was eye-opening because I realized that I needed other people's perspectives to better understand and create a shared language for what it is that I'm experiencing as I'm tasting coffees. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a cupping together. I don't have a professional setup because if you want to try this at home, you should be able to. I just have some large glasses, some tall glasses, some hot water. I've got a coffee grinder over here and 3 different coffees. Doing this will help you taste coffee. It won't necessarily be a drinkable beverage at the end. So the first step in cupping is grinding the coffee beans, of course. And then what we like to do is kind of tap it on its side so we can get the coffee beans a little bit into the air and we get the dry aroma. The second step is pouring the hot water, and we let that saturate for about 4 minutes total. What we do then is take a nice big smell of the coffee as it rises to the top. That's another type of aroma, it's the wet aroma. After that, we break the crusts, and again, we smell. As we break the floating coffee on the top, it releases yet another series of sensations that we like to smell about the coffees. And we usually cup the same coffee twice just to make sure any inconsistencies are sort of ironed out between the 2 tasters. After that, we scrape off what floats to the top, which is usually bitter caffeine, and wait for it to cool down up to 15 minutes before we start tasting. For me, it's really hard to taste coffee when it's hot. I just kind of taste hot. And so I like to wait for it to cool down. I recommend doing that with any coffee you try. You can get a little more sweetness and nuance out of it. All right, let's start. Eric, welcome to my cupping class.
Thanks.
It's not a class, it's normal.
Hi. I feel like you're a great teacher though. This is a class.
Thank you.
And I don't know that much about coffee, and I really need it right now because it's the end of the day. I'm so
Perfect,
tired.
perfect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a cupping, and all I want you to do is just tell me what you smell and taste.
Okay.
We're doing 3 different coffees. Okay. So this one is a light roast, this one is a medium, and this one is pretty dark. So, through the magic of video editing, I've now ground my coffee. And we went for a slightly more coarse than normal for brews. We used 11 grams per cup, and we're just gonna fill it up to the top. Again, before we start, let's do some dry smell. Okay. So we'll always start right here, down to the dark. So light to dark, and definitely smell both cups.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Both cups?
Give it a little tap too. That might help like lift the, yeah. professional already.
And I'm supposed to smell the difference between these two?
No, you're gonna smell just an average. It helps mitigate inconsistencies.
Wow, that's smart.
Yeah.
It actually smells like Korean fermented soybean, tenjang. It's kind of like this funky miso-y smell.
I know exactly what he's talking
You know
about.
what I'm talking about? Oh, yeah. Just forget he's Korean.
This is, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I get sweet savory, umami. I get a little bit of vibrancy, you know, something bright in there. I won't ascribe a fruit to it because we all taste fruits differently, but it tends to be a little bit brighter.
It's savory, it's funky.
Let's do this one. I'll switch with you in just a sec.
It's like instant good mood.
Same. I kind of honestly get a little nuttiness. Sweet fragrance, but not necessarily like a fruity or sweet. Like more the savory note kind of, for me, comes out a little bit more on this roast.
Interesting. This one's more dirt-like to me, like chocolatey.
Yeah. Earthy.
Earthy. Because this one reminds me of like a savory funkiness.
Yeah.
This one has less of that. More mild, maybe?
Okay, and then let's do the dark. Ooh. Yeah.
That's fun.
This is like, reminds me of like my first coffee memories. You know, my grandma pouring instant coffee into a cup. I would just smell the instant coffee. I wouldn't even drink it. It just smelled so good and rich.
Oh, I was afraid. This one reminds me more of the kind of funky miso-y smell. I was afraid that I would not be able to smell any of these because...
Yeah, that has like a really rich developed flavor on it. Much more developed than I'd say these two. So now we'll do the exact same thing. Starting this way, we'll smell the coffees. So go, just put your,
It smells like, you know when you go to a sauna? All the saunas,
Yeah.
saunas that you go to in the steam room. And what's that wood that's burning in the corner?
I don't know, kind of varies
You
from.
know that thing smells really particular?
I get,
Oh,
like-
it smells like that.
yeah. I see what,
I need to find out what that wood is.
I get
I'm
like
sure
a-
someone knows what that is. Comment.
Comment.
Or you'll do an air bubble right here. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Did you want to move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Oh, this one's definitely more chocolatey,
Mm-hmm.
which I think I said, right?
Yeah.
This is so fun. Am I getting caffeine by sniffing it?
No. No.
Edit that out.
Oh, I want to hear your thoughts on this one.
Okay. I felt this way when I was sniffing them dry. This reminds me of this one.
Interesting. Why?
I don't know. This smells like savory. This one's definitely like chocolatey. This one was also savory, but... Keep what I meant. Sorry.
All right, well, with that, we're gonna break the crust. This one's already pretty much broken. What we're gonna do is you're gonna grab one spoon, I'm gonna grab the other. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do one down, push, and a circle around the rim, okay?
Why are you pushing it?
Because we're trying to submerge it, and as we're doing it, it's going to release a new set of smells.
Okay.
So ready? So I'll show you on this one. You can start on that one, even though there's not much there.
Okay.
So you go like this. This. After that, dip, dry, and again.
What an art.
So I'll do one set, and you do the other set. How does that sound?
Okay.
All right, your turn.
Wow.
Yeah, get real close. You can kind of smell how it's changing.
I forgot to breathe.
You're doing great. You're doing great. This one was fun for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa, that is different.
Yeah, it's a little. And then the last one, it's already kind of, just give it a stir, I guess.
Oh, really? Wow. Oh my god, this one has like a chestnutty kind of. I can't wait to taste this one. It's so weird. In a great way. Oh, it's like chestnuts roasting.
Perfect. I'm gonna grab this from you real quick. So now we're gonna do the last part before we wait, called skimming, where I just take all the foam off. That.
Is there a reason?
Yep. That is basically caffeine and bitter flavors, and we're trying to not have that in our cups anymore. Oops. What were some comparisons here from the first to the second?
I think I was able to smell all three of them more clearly because it wasn't so strong.
Yeah.
But this one totally changed flavor. Like, is this the one that I said smelled like the sauna?
Yeah.
So this one smelled like, just kept thinking about, you know, it went from like doenjang, Korean soybean, and then it went to sauna wood, whatever that is. And then the third time it smelled like roasted chestnuts. But all three times it's like this deep woodsy, like,
Yeah.
savory flavor.
Yeah, I find that for me, like during this process of breaking the crust and kind of having it, I get a very nice picture of what I want to taste for when I make the coffee. So with all these smells, I kind of just sort of construct what the potential beverage is. So cupping is oftentimes used to grade coffees. It's used to taste, let's say you get a coffee from Ethiopia and you're developing multiple roast profiles for it. They will then compare every roast profile with each being like 2 or 3 cups, and then comparing and contrasting what develops the most of the natural sugars and terroir really kind of shine through. They use it for blending components. So like if you want to make a blend, they'll cup and taste every component. Really, this is kind of instrumental in sort of deciphering the nuance and differences between the coffee amongst coffee professionals.
Do you cup when you've just bought a couple of new bags?
Never.
Or by then you already know?
No, by the time when I buy a bag of coffee, I don't cup because one, it needs to be pretty fresh off roast. And so whatever I end up buying on the shelf is usually already about a week old. 2, it doesn't make me enjoy the coffee.
Yeah.
It helps me analyze what I'm tasting and like the differences, but it doesn't help me appreciate what the farmers have cultivated and what the roasters have developed. It was in those moments of going to cuppings and just coffee tastings with other coffee enthusiasts that I began to understand that I can get a little bit more out of my coffee aside from just acidity. Over the course of these past 5 to 6 years of tasting different coffees, I'm finding that deep sweetness, that umami, the doenjang, is kind of what makes coffee delicious.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the acidity that does. The acidity makes it fun for me.
Yeah.
The savoriness makes me want more. It's what makes me keep coming back. Like I want that comfort in the morning, you know?
I love that. Have you ever had the coffee at?
Where are they again?
It's like right up the street. Probably like we don't want to include this, but I hate their coffee so much. It's unfortunate if like that's not your style. You know, if you're a coffee shop and you have, you know, these espresso drinks and you only use one bean, but if that bean is not your bean as a customer, like how does that make? I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. It's like
some coffee shops only sell one bean because teaching baristas how to taste for sweetness can take a very, very long time.
why do you say sweetness specifically? Because that's like the goal or something, or
Yeah. So,
okay.
have you had a coffee that tastes really sour?
Yeah.
So those
This
are
one's really sour.
okay. Exactly. Are you talking about?
Yeah.
So the reason why that happens is because with lighter roasted coffees, they don't develop as much umami during the Maillard reaction when they're roasting, right? So you get a little bit less of that savory sweetness. That's that sweetness that I'm talking about.
Cool.
It's in there. It's definitely there. It's just more subtle.
Okay.
What's fun for me as someone who loves coffee is tasting the acidity. And so a lot of coffee professionals, like this could be into honestly an argument with some people, but like they love to exemplify that coffee's uniqueness through its acidity.
Right.
Whereas I think it's much better to drink when it's more controlled, it's more nuanced, and you bring out the coffee's natural sweetness.
It's not blasting you in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We're waiting for it to cool down. We've been waiting for about, I'd say, 9-10 minutes. I'm gonna give a slurp. If it's still a little too hot, we're gonna wait longer. So this is a spitting part.
Okay.
As you can imagine, coffee professionals would have like, I don't know, 50 different cups on the plate. And so if you're trying all that, you're gonna shake.
Okay.
And so that's why they spit.
Right.
But you don't have to spit because you were telling me you need coffee. And what you do is just get a little bit.
Kind of like wine.
Just really, you want it to coat the entirety of your palate. So that's the roof of your mouth, under your tongue, like we're in a ramen shop. Just slurp away, it's great. Oh yeah, coffee.
I really want to drink it. I drank
Drink it, yeah, just drink it.
It's really good.
Yeah.
This one's so interesting. I love it. Can you do it one more time? So like,
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. I did that every time.
I can't do this with wine either. Every time they pour my wine at a restaurant, I'm like, have a taste. And then I'm like,
You're just like,
oh, it tastes great.
I don't know what I'm doing.
I'll never know what I'm doing. Okay.
Oh yeah.
This one smells like hot chocolate. It's like, how do you not get it in the back of your throat when you do it that hard?
I've done it a lot. I also kind of like tilt my head forward a little bit, so it's not spraying against the back of my throat as much as it's just sort of more towards the roof of the mouth. But
I like the flavor of that one. I think that's the one that I would normally drink and buy, actually. It's like,
right in that middle.
maybe I'm not the coffee drinker who's looking for, the acidic complexity of that kind. But yeah, so this is what I like to drink. But
Yeah.
I like that you say that it's okay to like the simpler one. Or well,
Yeah.
would you call this simpler than that?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what you mean. I think there's this connotation or assumption really that darker roast coffees are less refined. But traditional American coffees have always been pretty dark. Just because it's darker doesn't mean it's bad. I also prefer the center one oftentimes.
That one's interesting. I mean this in the best way possible, but this one reminds me of gas station coffee. It's like, it's intense.
What I like actually about gas station coffee is I know exactly what I'm getting. It's not a surprise. When I order a single origin coffee from like specialty shops,
Yeah.
I don't know what the barista's interpretation of like the best extraction from that coffee is gonna look like. Gas
Yeah.
station coffee, the big chains, they're great because I don't have to guess my experience. It's always going to be the same. What makes the single origin fun is trying the barista's interpretation and then taking it home and trying my own.
Yeah.
And just tinkering with it,
Yeah.
It's like the experimentation. And that's ultimately like my great point here is these coffees are all different, they all have different roasts, but we really, no matter how much we could talk about it, at the end of the day, we wouldn't know how to describe it unless we try it.
Yeah.
I think there are so many questions we could ask about what makes coffee different from one coffee to the other. And to answer that is truly like a personal experience for me that can be shared, that can be connected with other people, but it has to be done by trying the coffees. Roasters, like I had mentioned, kind of like roast the same coffee at different like roast profiles. And so maybe they start at 400 plus Fahrenheit, and then it drops down when they put the cold coffee in, and then they ramp it up at a certain rate. Most roasters are trying to bring out the best flavor of
Yeah.
like both highlighting the beans' natural like terroir and development on the farms,
Yeah.
as well as making sure to bring out just a touch more sweetness here or a little less over there. It's like truly an unfinished product.
Yeah.
Even at home, you know, it's still got that last step of
Yeah.
you, me, friends, coffee shops, you know?
That's so poetic. I love that. This is so much fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm glad you got some coffee.
I was like, it's an empty spit cup.
yeah.
So if I'm buying these different kinds
Yeah.
of grounds, do you grind them up differently and do you brew them differently?
I tend to grind based off of how I brew. So with immersion style brewing, like a French press, right? For example, I would do a little bit of a coarser grind, a little finer than what we've cupped for sure, but I do a little coarser. And then if we're doing pour over, just a hair finer, just a hair, not too much. I don't think a coffee tastes better through a different brew method from one to the other. Now, that being said, I may change my mind on what I prefer over time. So for example, let's take this coffee. It's bright, it's a coffee from Colombia. It has a higher elevation, so the beans are a little bit denser, has a lot more sugar, but it's a light roast. And so if I were to put this through a pour over and possibly a Chemex, it filters out oils that might change the texture of the coffee. So then I'll change to French press, which doesn't filter oils out and makes what was originally a pretty acidic coffee into a smoother bodied coffee.
Oh,
Does that
because
make
the
sense?
oils are where all the
Yeah.
flavors.
For darker roasted coffees, I tend to like pour overs because it retains some of the oils, obviously not all of them, but it comes out with a slightly cleaner cup than French press, and so it has a little bit more of a balanced flavor. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And then with like the darkest roasts, I kind of just have fun with it. Condensed milk, sugar, honey,
Right.
you know? I've even tried salt, because why not? And it like kind of made
Yeah.
it sweeter.
Yeah.
I'm not recommending it, but you know, have fun with it.
I have a brother who is as interested in coffee as you are, and he sends me really fancy like single origin stuff. Now he starts to send me more like these kinds of things that I like, the deeper noted ones. But you know, when my brother's coffee runs out, I go out and buy the ground hazelnut Dunkin' Donuts coffee. That's like, but I like to like change it up. But I do think like what I actually want to do after this is go to a cupping because I just learned so much and this was so fun. It was like so fun. You should do it for the office. Like
Maybe.
so many people would love this.
Okay.
Maybe you should do it for the editorial team actually, don't we? So it's just the editors and Gabriella, our producer.
So thank you so much for joining me and talking about coffee. We've talked a lot, and I'm very excited because at the end of the day, what I hope you and I kind of experience together by having coffees and a variety of coffees together is that although we taste differently, we would have never known if we hadn't shared our experiences.
Yeah.
And so definitely keep trying new coffees. Go out there, try it differently, have fun with it. Take your friend Eric. It's gonna be a good time. If you wanna see more videos, hit the like button, write a comment, tell me more of what you guys want. We go through those comments, you know, we'll answer them as best as we can. And thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.